Welcome back. So this is a part 3 of Lab 8. And in this part of the lab, we're going to take our wonderful landscape here, the San Rafael Swell and Colorado Plateau, and make a topographic profile in ArcGIS Pro. ArcGIS Pro, unfortunately, doesn't have maybe as easy of a profile tool as ArcMap used to have, which you could easily, quickly make on your data. And it's definitely not as good as the profile tools that users have made for QGIS and that open source tool where you can quickly stack profiles and scroll through them. So, but nevertheless, there are ways to make nice profiles using ArcGIS Pro. And I'm going to show you one quick way using stack profiles and 3D analyst tools here. Okay, so in our background here, we have our nice color shaded relief map of the area. And so we're in, we're using these derivatives, hillshade product and the DEM. I will caution you, so if we go to analysis, you see there's some students will run into these ready to use tools, and it says there's a profile tool, and I can click on that and run it. But notice the cloud symbol here. So it says returns elevation profiles for the input line features. Yeah, you make an input line feature, but the elevation profile that it returns is from some cloud-based elevation data that's underlying something that Esri has got. It's not profiling through your data. It may produce a similar profile as this 10-meter DEM, and that may wrongly make you infer that it's utilizing your digital elevation model for the profile. It's not. You cannot profile through, for instance, remote sensing data with this profile tool. But I'll show you a way that you can do it. So what we want to do is go to Toolbox, and we're going to go up to 3D Analyst Tools. And I can't remember exactly where it is, so I'm going to say, I'm going to type it in. So it's stack profile. Okay, so there it is. Let's find where it is in the 3D Analyst Tools. It's under 3D Intersections, stack profile. And click on that. And so if you had like a bunch of topographic profiles that you wanted to run, like say to profile all along the San Rafael Swell to see how the topography varies, or kind of see what type of topographic cross-section you might want to draw for your geologic cross-section, you could run a bunch of them at once if you had a line file. What it does is it takes those lines that you've drawn and it intersects them with whatever raster you tell it. So it could be elevation, slope, values of color, whatever it is, and it gives you those input values at every point along the line for every grid that or every cell that it intersects. But there's a quicker way here. If you just want to make one profile, you can create a new feature right here from Stack Profile. So I'll click that and I'll make a line. Okay, so you take a minute and it'll say, okay, how do you want to make your line? I'm just going to draw a simple line. And so I'm going to go from what looks like this kind of, actually, I'm going to go from the other side here, and we're going to go across the San Rafael Swell. You can do what you want. This is just for your your own education. So I'm going to go across the swell. I'm going to go through some of these flat areas, see what that looks like. I'm going to go into the monocline here and then out onto the Colorado Plateau. Oh, and then for fun, I'll go over one of these canyons of the Green River. Okay, so that's my profile line. It's now it's intersected that, or it will intersect it with whatever I tell it my target is. And it's called a stack profile for a reason. You can tell it to intersect many things. The thing that I'm after is elevation. So I need to find that. And that is under DEM, San Rafael, DEM 10 meter. But just to show you that it's a stack profile, I'll also go through slope. The catch, of course, will be that the slope is a very different scale than the thousands of meters above sea level DEM, or above the geoid. So they won't display that nicely on the same axis. Okay, and so what it does, like you make the line, it intersects with this information, and outputs a table of data that you can then plot as a scatter plot and make a profile. And the profile will go as a standalone table over here. So I've already done this, so I actually already have one. Let's get ahead and remove that one so we don't get confused. And you can see what happens. See, there's no standalone tables there at the moment. I'll click run. It's very quick. Okay, so it's not like a profile pops up for you, but it's possible to get it. So if we go right click on the stack profile line feature table, go to create chart and make a scatter plot. And then you'll see that this chart properties has popped up over here. And so what we need to do is define what part of the data is what axis for our scatter plot. And so generally, the first thing we asked for was the elevation. So the first distance is one for the x-axis, and the z is the y-axis, so elevation. And yeah, here it's plotting it. It's got a few other things on there. I don't want to show a linear trend because it's actually somehow plotted the slope and it's trying to balance that. It's confusing. So I'll turn that off. And then it's scatter plot of points. And so I think we can add a line too if we want. No. Okay, so we don't, I mean, if you want elevation, you want those lines, you can. Chart. I was trying to see if you could change it from points to lines. I don't remember. I feel like you probably can, but I'm not seeing it very quickly here, so I'm not going to focus on that. So what I'm going to do to make this look more like a simple graphic, is I'm going to tone down the scale of those dots. And we can also kind of make them squished by squishing the chart. Okay, so there's our elevation from the left to the right is how we clicked it. And so you can see this is the swell, this high topography. And it's much steeper over here, right? You can see it goes through all those colors in a very short amount of distance. So it's the steepest right there. You can see that in the elevation values. It rises up from, 1,400 meters above the geoid to 600 meters higher in just like a couple kilometers. Whereas on the other side, it starts higher and it kind of slowly rises up. So that's why we call it a monocline. So it's pretty flat across here, and the rocks all lift up in the air and then they fold back over. So yeah, this is our monocline. So you could, if you knew the geology under here, you could use this to draw your cross section. So yeah, we can then export this data, right, and then get a topographic profile out of it. Okay, you could do that in another program. Yeah, and then on the bottom here we have a slope map or a slope profile, and it doesn't show up like much because you can see our scale here goes up to 2,000, and the slopes are from 0 to 90. But you can see where the steep slopes are, right? And wherever it's going above 0, basically. And you could plot this instead. I think if I did second Z, no, you can do it, but it might take some time. Oops, let's see. And so for this lab, all I wanted you to do is to show me that you can do this in the stack profile sense. There are other ways to make another type of profile. I think if I back up here, I think we might have to make our own line, or like, let's see. Actually, if we go to this line, yeah, so we made that line, right? And it's a 3D line because it intersected. So if we click profile graph, whew, didn't seem to work. Let's input that line with the DEM. Just see if we can do it one other way. So profile line 2, just see. So yeah, the reason why I'm trying it another way is basically because, well, this is a nice profile, but it's points. It's a scatter plot. I believe that this next thing is a 3D line. We might be able to go directly to profile graph and plot it, but I'm wrong. So I did link to a way to do this in here, which is not what I talked about. So we could go there really quickly and see what's going on. Okay, so it says, basically, if you pull that up, that you can do the following. So you can add a 3D line, which we've already got here, and select the line in the content pane. On the layers data tab, in the visualize group, create a chart. Profile graph. That's what we did, and it didn't quite work out. So why not? Hmm. Well, for this lab, this is going to be good enough if we go back to our scatter plot here. But if you want to create a more seamless kind of profile line, there is a way. And I think, basically we're on track to find it here with this contents pane, but we need to do something else within 3D Analyst here that I haven't yet done. Okay, and so somehow we have to get that to happen. Okay, so yeah, we'll stop here. You can make a screen cap showing me where you made your stack profile and what the profile looks like. Okay, apologies for the kind of rambling here at the end.